There are a few announcements that I want to bring to your attention. One in particular, if you're on the leadership board, please be aware that there's a meeting on Thursday night, and we need all of your reports to Deb and the office no later than tomorrow. Please know that there are, as usual, yummies in Fellowship Hall, so please come and join us. Our next transition meeting is on May 21st, right after the service, and I've only had 3 responses to my email. Dun, 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 dun. It won't be a very exciting transition meeting. It will be really long if you don't get those emails to me. So please, hop to. I need time to prepare too, so that's why I need the stuff ahead of time. That's why I sent it out so early. So please, please, please get those emails to me. It's at the response@firstbaptistkeene.org email. And the Reading Grammys need your help. They would like very much to be able to extend the ministry of reading to others, to include Cedar Crest. And in order to do that, we need more readers. So if you could donate an hour a month to read a story, either to a group of kids or to an individual child, please see Susan Meister. And as I said last week, there's still, there was this Good Samaritan person by the name of John Berglund, who cleared away all the big branches out back, but there are still some small ones out there. So if anybody has a little bit of time to go out and drag some branches over into the woods, over the banking, whatever, to help clean up the yard, that would be great. We could also use some help with weeding if anybody has any time at all that they'd like to help with weeding the gardens. Did you notice the beautiful tulips this morning? I know, and there's more coming. There's good stuff out there. So if you are interested in helping with weeding, you can see Susan as well, and we'll figure it out. Sounds good. Any other announcements this morning? All right then. Birthdays, blessings, and anniversaries. Mark Polifroni, does anybody know him? Has a birthday on the 3rd. And Carolyn Berglund's birthday is today. Happy birthday to you, Carolyn. She's here, we'll sing. Thanks, Mark, and happy birthday, Carolyn. Before I call the kids down, oh, anybody have any blessings to share, first of all? Aubrey's here. We're really glad to have her visiting us. She belongs here, but we don't get to see her very often, so it feels like a visit. We're glad. Just a reminder that last week, the children made a decision about the box. And the decision is that if nobody at the table wants the box, that the person who had the box gets to pick anyone in the congregation to take the box for the next week. So please be aware, if you're not going to be here the next week, please pass it off to someone so that we still have time with the kids, okay? I know it's here because I saw Grace come in. Meet you at the table. Oh my goodness. Okay, Joyce, what's going on? You look kind of, you're hiding your smile. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
No, she has her smile and happy color. She knows.
Oh, she does?
Yeah.
Leave it to your sister to fill us in. It's all good. We like your smile and we're glad you're here. Do you have something for me, Grace? You do? Hmm.
You can take it.
I can?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear it thumps. Can I tip it upside down?
Yes, but be careful
It's not alive, right?
no, it's not alive.
All right, you already said it's open. Aww.
That's why I said that. I wish it was alive.
This one is in my office. It's live. Doesn't look quite the same, does it? Isn't he very cute? Does he have a name?
It's a girl. Her name is Chloe.
Lola. How did you pick the name?
I was thinking of the name. I said Princess Starfire. Lola and Lola was very
Lola was the perfect name, and she went through all of the Star Wars stuff to get there, right? Perfect. I really like it. Her. She's got a pink flower in her hair
pretty.
and everything. What? Yeah, the white areas is really big white tail.
She has a dog that always gives toys that play with it. It's very good.
Oh. She's no bag of toys. Very cool. Well, you know, what do we call dogs? Puppies, what else? What do we say about them? They're a man's best. Oh, you know what? Best friend. Say that dogs are man's best friend. People's best friend. Dogs. You do, I do too. But do you think that the dog is really your best friend? You don't know. Okay. I think the dog is supposed to be our best friend. But I do think it's, and he gave us dogs, and dogs are really good friends. And cute, says Charlie. Yes, they are. What do you think we would call a dog a best friend? What do they do that makes us like them? Grace? Oh, they can get your food for you. Yeah. They like. They're super soft and they let you pet them. Do they ever get mad at you? No. No. Are they always happy to see you when you come home? Very happy to see you when you come home. I think that's why we like them so much, because they always like us, right? They always like us. So does God. Did you know that no matter what you do, no matter how bad it is, no matter how much trouble you're in, God still loves you? He's not mad at you. Think about that. What do you think about that? They're pretty cool. So, when you do something that you shouldn't, when you get in trouble, you always remember God's not mad at you. And you can talk to him, you can tell him you're sorry for what you did, and he will always forgive you. Right? And so then you can just let it go and be done with it and move on and not do it again, right? Pretty cool? Yeah. Just like what your parents say, right? It's like it's okay, but, you know, this is the consequence. flowers and ribbons. God bless the dress of flowers. Oh gosh, I think we're all in the spring mood here. Thank you. Thank you for bringing Lola to share. Appreciate that. Anybody want thoughts for this? Do. All right. All right, let's say a prayer and then you can go, okay? Lord God, thank you that no matter how old we are, that when we do things that are displeasing to the people around us, that you forgive us, and so we need to just apologize for what we've done. And move on. And if we have people that that thing was done to, we need to honor God and be forgiving of it. And love the person who has come to apologize. So help us, Lord, to do that now. Just ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks. You guys can get color pages with it because this one is not going to. Do you know that there's pages on the table by the tree? So you get your letter? Cool. Oh. Blessings and prayer requests. Went to Great Wolf Lodge, went to Foxwoods. I love Linda. They're decorating my door. Thank you, Grace. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Could we have the call to worship, please, Ian? Thank you. Please pray with me. Our Lord and our God, you are worthy. You are the one who is always there, our best friend, the one who forgives, who leads, who guides, who gives the best advice. Come and be with us today so that we may be recipients of all of those things. We ask in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Would you stand for the doxology, please? Our first hymn this morning is number 518. This is a day of new beginnings. Thank you. You may be seated, and Susan's going to come and talk to us about missions for a minute.
Good morning. We're a little ahead of ourselves, but it's almost May. For the month of May and June, our focus is on our neighbor, Cedar Crest for Children with Disabilities. Cedar Crest is a nonprofit pediatric care and educational center serving children with complex medical and/or developmental needs. In a setting that is bright, warm, and filled with love, their highly skilled and dedicated caregivers join with family members to nurture each child's potential for learning and happiness. 75 years ago, two women, a physical therapist and a doctor, saw a need to have children in institutions to see how they would benefit from a more enriching life experience while meeting their complex medical and developmental needs. Their first facility was located at Flying Pig Farm in Westmoreland. The center next door was built about 30 years ago. Most children, including newborn babies needing complex care, are referred by doctors and hospitals. There is a short-term stay program for post-operative rehabilitation or specific family needs. Currently, there is a maximum of 26 students. There are 130 staff. The school day is from 8:30 to 2:30, at which time the students return to the resident home. There are 3 classrooms, 3rd grade and under, 4th grade to 7th grade, and 8th grade to age 21 when they age out of the program. Education is year-round. They also accept day students with special needs. On weekends, there are planned activities such as crafts, weekly field trips, and spending time outdoors enjoying an adaptive playground. The grounds include meandering walkways, flower beds, and a vegetable garden. Their annual budget exceeds $7 million. Medical care expenses are reimbursed from Medicaid, and each student's local school district funds the school program at a rate set by the New Hampshire Department of Education. Charitable contributions from individuals, foundations, businesses, and community help with enrichment programs and technological needs. As a congregation, how can we help? There are 3 ways. Next Sunday, there will be a collection basket in the narthex for craft items on their wish list. Copies of the list will also be on the table, and the list includes gift cards. Any item on this list will be greatly appreciated and put to good use. Crafts are a big part of the day at Cedar Crest. The second way, the choir plans to sing in their atrium one Sunday after church. This will be a rewarding experience for all involved. Readers are needed for a few days a month during the late afternoon, a period of downtime for the children. I encourage you to step out of your comfort zone, volunteer to do something different, and join me in this rewarding experience. We are hoping this reading program will be ongoing along with the reading grandmas at the Y daycares. I found Cedar Crest Center to be a peaceful place, one of much joy and love. We all have an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of these special children.
Thank you, Susan. Just to piggyback on that, I used to work with developmentally disabled, and when I went to Cedar Crest for the first time, I could not believe what I saw. It is the happiest, cleanest, warmest, most loving place I have ever been in my life. And they really go to extremes to find ways to stimulate and educate the children that are there. It is an incredible blessing to these families. Otherwise, the only other option would be that these children would live their lives in a nursing home. And at this point, at age 21, that's where they go. And they cease to get the enrichment and everything that they get at a place like Cedar Crest. So please keep them in your prayers. I mean, the residence area, each child has a homemade quilt on their bed. You know, they have quilted curtains, and it's cheery and not what you would expect at all. It is amazing. They had an aviary when I was there. The kids could go and sit in their atrium and watch the birds flying around in the aviary. Just really extraordinary place, and I think worthy of anything we can do for them. Andrew? And very open to visitors. They love visitors, so yeah, I could go on, but I won't. We now get together to share our prayers with one another. Bob Haddon is at Langdon. He has some blood clots that they're working to dissolve, so please keep Bob in your prayers. Continued prayers for Pat and Tim. Pat is home and doing well, but still has quite a ways to go. Her foot is still very painful. So prayers for that. Continued prayers for Harry as he continues with chemo. He's doing great, and he's got a stiff upper lip about the whole thing, but he's experiencing some side effects that aren't all that much fun. So prayers for Harry and for Helen. Other prayer requests this morning. Lena?
Prayers for my family as we continue to grieve the loss of my cousin Ryan. Services will be Wednesday, so yeah, just prayers for everyone.
We will do that. Any others this morning? Hi, Jean. Karen?
Just ask for prayers for myself and California.
Yeah, Jean's abandoned ship for a while. She's going to see her sister. So we're excited. Yeah, Jane's a little nervous about the flight, so prayers about, because it's a long flight from here to California. So prayers for Jean and that they have a wonderful time together. Helen?
Prayers for my friend Martha, who's 90 years old. She recently fell and broke her arm, and she is at Applewood nursing home, and recently has been able to shed the splint on her arm, and she's getting physical therapy with her.
Prayers for Martha and her broken arm. We will pray. Yes, Andrew?
Transition from vacation
Transition from...
transition from vacation to work
Oh, yeah, there's that, huh?
month and a half of school year.
I know, this is a tough transition for anybody in school, because once they go vacation, it's only when the kids check out. They're done. They think it's June. So, extra prayers for all school personnel and those related. I'm thinking of Frank and the bus. Because the kids really do literally shift gears at the end of April vacation, and they have a lot to accomplish for the end of the year, and it's really hard to keep them in line and keep them busy in the ways they should be busy, not necessarily the ways they want to be. Any others this morning? Let's go before the Lord. Lord, so often in life we face transitions, whether it's as a church or as individuals, even as children, whether it's transitioning from vacation to work and school, or transitioning to a new environment, or transitioning, Lord, to new ways that we are forced to live. Whether it is transitioning from health to illness or illness to health, it requires a change of mindset and a change of heart. Lord, help us in transitions that we all face to keep our eyes on you and to lean on you as the source of our comfort, the source of our hope, the source of our healing, the source of our guidance and direction. Give us, Lord, willing spirits to face the changes that are in front of us. Give us the right spirit, Lord, to accept the help and love and comfort from people around us who come alongside to encourage and pray and help in physical ways as well. Help us not to hesitate to ask when we need those things. And help us to be gracious recipients. Also, Lord, give us eyes and ears to see those who need help, and the courage and the willingness to reach out and help those who need it. You have modeled that for us, Lord, in the greatest of ways. And it is in the name of Jesus that we pray as he taught, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Let's stand together and sing our next hymn, number 544, No, Not One. You may be seated. Thank you. And I apologize, but I am spacing on who's reading today. Grizz, you were on the list in my head. I wasn't sure if it was you or Elizabeth. Grizz is going to come and read for us now. Thank you.
Good morning. Today's reading is from John 5, 1 through 15. The healing at the pool. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for a feast of the Jews. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and he walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath, and so the Jews said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. The law requires you to carry your mat." But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So they asked him, "Who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk?" The man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well.
Yeah. I got some pictures for you. This is Bethsaida. And the first thing I want to draw your attention to is the edges of the picture. To the left, you see that staircase going up? So it's very steep. And to the right, you see that wall with all the shrubs on the top of it? So this is really at the bottom of a valley. This is no easy place to get to. In fact, truth be told, I didn't get there because I was not able to, I could have made the hike down, but I could not have done the hike up. Frank told me after the fact, because he took this picture, that it was one of the most difficult climbs he's ever done because it was so steep. Now, at the bottom of it, you see ruins. And over on the left, you see a dark space that's just this side of the stairs, a big dark space there. And in sort of the center of the picture, just to the right of center toward the back, you see, looks like a tunnel or a cavern in there. And then over to the right where that person is standing looking down along the railing, is another big area, as well as toward the front, grassy areas that are sort of enclosed now. All of those were pools. All of those were places where people would go and lie and wait for the water, for the Lord to quicken the water, to make the water living water, so that they could get in to be healed. So you can imagine the number of people that would have been gathered around there. The next slides are just really different views of the same area, but you can see the remnants of one of the colonnades that is mentioned in the scripture, just to the left of center. That building at the back, I asked Frank about because there's a map there. It's more of an archaeological, you can fast forward because I think that's oh no, I didn't do it, okay. I think it's really part of the archaeological digging that's going on there with a map of what they've validated to be what. At one site, there is actually a sign that says, "This is the pool that the man was healed by Jesus in." So very well documented that these were the healing pools. This picture, Frank did not take. This picture I took off from the internet just because it gives you a different perspective on it. You can see that wall there is actually the footing for the old city of Jerusalem. It's actually the beginnings of the wall for what is now known as the Temple Mount in the old city. So it's just outside the gates. Most of the gates to that area now have been closed off, but just so you have some perspective on where that was, I think there's one more. There you go. So all the way around, I mean, that picture is looking south, and you can see that the city of Jerusalem proper, the new city, is built up all around there. What I didn't get was on the downside, the other way where the big steep stairs were, it goes directly down from the Mount of Olives. So the area is known as Bethsaida. It is in what is now known as the New Jerusalem, but just outside the walls of the old city. So you have some context there. We saw lots of stuff like that. It's like, okay, it's rubble. You need somebody to explain to you what's going on. So here's Jesus, goes up to Jerusalem for the Feast of the Jews, and near what is the sheep gate. Now the sheep gate was the place where the animals were taken into the old city. They were taken into the temple for slaughter, for sacrifice, okay? So in Aramaic, the sheep gate is called Bethsaida, and it's surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. You saw one of them. Here, a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, and the paralyzed. So, happy place to be, right? Just all of these people lying around. I want you to think about the pictures you saw. How did they get there? How did they even get down into this hole in the ground to be near those pools? And at the end of the day, what did they do? Did they stay or did they leave? And if they left, how did they get out? One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. We don't know exactly how, we just know that he was an invalid. And when Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" I've read this over 1,000,000 times, but I have addition to this now. "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred." Because the tradition was that the water had to be bubbly and active. It had to be, according to the Jews, living water, for the person had to get in there while it was alive and active in order to receive the blessing of healing. while I'm trying to get in. Someone else goes down ahead of me. Slow, right? And there's not just the invalids and the sick and blind people lying around there. There's people with relatively minor illnesses looking to be healed. You know, think Lourdes or someplace like that, where people are just rushing to be healed of all sorts of ailments. So it was busy. It wasn't a quiet place to be. And Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." And at once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and he walked. Now, the rest of it deals with the Sabbath and the fact that Jesus told the man to pick up his mat and walk. And I'm not going to focus on that today. It's definitely an important part of the story. It is part of what makes the Pharisees begin to be angry with Jesus. It is certainly the beginning of the Pharisees looking to rid themselves of Jesus. But I'm going to focus on verse 7 and 8. 6. Why would Jesus ask the man if he wants to get well? Anyone have any thoughts? Have you ever thought about it? Why would Jesus ask anybody who had been sitting there for 38 years if they wanted to be well? Lena? Maybe just nobody's asked him? Mm-hmm. I think that's part of it. Robin?
Perhaps seeking to see how deep his faith is.
Jesus could see how deep his faith was? Maybe? Cindy? Maybe there's expectations on if you're healthy that don't apply if you're an invalid. Good one. I think all of that plays a role. But I have another question for you. Why does it not say here that the man asked people to help him? It just says that nobody would help him. It doesn't say that he asked for help. With all those people around. There's another piece to this that bugs me. And that is the question. Do you want to get well? I realized when I read that is the question I deal with as a transition minister all of the time. Do you really want to get well? Because it requires change. And if you don't really want to get well, you're not going to do what is required to make that happen. Right? How many people do you know at the end of their life that have some serious illness and their doctors are saying, we could do this for you, we could do this for you, we could do this for you, and you may actually recover. And people say, no, thank you. I've lived my life, I don't want to do anymore. I don't want to get well. I wonder how often in our lives we make that choice. How often are we blind to the fact that we have an illness that other people might be confronting us with, and we're just saying, oh, they're crazy. I've got this all under control. I don't need to change. Life is just the way I want it. And nope, not going there. While down deep inside, we know they're right. And I hear Shakespeare with "thou dost protest too much." That we think we can cover it up. We can make it all better ourselves. The point here is the guy sat there for 38 years and we have no record of the fact that he asked for help. He just was trying to do it on his own. I can't get there fast enough. Really? I wonder if he actually thought about the choice that he was actually making. Or even if he realized that he had a choice. And that the choice was not what he thought about, can I get there faster or not? But the choice was actually, is there another way for me to get there? Is there someone who could help me? Or should I just sit here whining for another 38 years? I don't know if you noticed, but there's no comfort there. Laying on rocks, not my idea of fun, especially not in the hot sun of Jerusalem. The day that we were there, it was 90 degrees, and that was only March. Not a place I would want to be. I think there's a lot to what Cindy said. And I think it ties into the question that Jesus asked. Because if you decide that you want to be made well, you are implicitly making the decision to accept all of the responsibilities that go along with the change. In other words, this guy can now walk, and Jesus says to him, pick up your mat. You're responsible now. You don't need that anymore. Get it out of here. Take care of yourself now. Take care of your own needs now. Find someone else to help now. 38 years of not being able to do anything for yourself, and all of a sudden now you're responsible? This sounds like a road to recovery from a major illness. Right now I'm thinking of Pat Lepisto and how frustrated she has been with the idea that she can't do. And now she's home and it's like, oh my gosh, how do I do the things that I used to do in this new situation? Because I can't do them the same way. Really valid, but she's not giving up. She's got a joke about it on Facebook every single day. What if all of a sudden I'm better from whatever is ailing me, and now all of a sudden I have to get a job? I have to go to work every day. What if it's not even as big as getting a job? More important, though, maybe I have to learn to relate to people in a healthy way. I haven't talked to people in years. I've hidden behind whatever. And now all of a sudden, I have to figure out what it means to be in a relationship. What if it's an addiction? How do I cope when I'm stressed, when I can't do the stuff that I used to do to cope? What if it's chronic lying and now I can't do that anymore and I have to be honest with others and with myself? It's not an insignificant question because it carries huge implications. And the thing is, everybody around that man rushing to the pool could see what was wrong with him, right? And even if they helped him down to the water, they couldn't make him well. All they could do was help. Because ultimately, Jesus put the responsibility for healing directly on the man. Do you want to be well? Because Jesus knows the truth. If you don't want to be well, you're not going to get well. You're not going to do what is required to make that happen. And Jesus knows it, because if we jump to verse 14, later Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well again." Again, he was well before. For 38 years he hasn't been well, and now he's well again. And Jesus cautions him, stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you. In other words, don't go back to your old ways. Don't go back to doing this stuff that got you into the predicament that you're in to begin with. Don't do something else to replace it that could lead to something even worse. You have to understand here that the choice was the man's, and that he had to deal with the reality. He had to face the facts that he had to deal with himself. The implication here is that he put himself in that position. And he chose to stay there for a really long time. And he didn't ask for help. No wonder Jesus asked him if he wanted to be well, because all the indications were that he didn't. And the water is bubbling in 5 pools. Living water. Water that offers life. Can you picture that? Can you picture Jesus standing by a pool of bubbling water? Here he is, the way, the truth, and the life. He doesn't need bubbling water. Man needed Jesus, and he needed somebody to hold him accountable, and he needed somebody to caution him, but most of all, he needed somebody to go alongside and love him enough to tell the truth, to ask the right questions, to hold him responsible. It's really hard. It's hard stuff on a personal level. I've been there. When people, say, well, you this, you that, and that's what it sounds like to me when they do that, right? And at that point, I have a choice. I can say, be done with you, get out of my life, don't need you anymore, not listening, la, 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 la. Or, from my perspective at that moment, I can give the other person the benefit of the doubt and say, wait a minute, I think that a lot of what they said may not be true, but what about this thing that keeps nagging at me? Why is that nagging at me? Maybe I ought to think on that. Maybe I ought to pray on that. Maybe I ought to talk to somebody that I can trust to be honest with me and not tell me what I want to hear. But maybe there's this person that I could go to and say, would you help me? Because this was said to me, and do you think I do this? Because it's really bugging me. So first of all, can we be that person? And then second of all, can we be the person who hears the question and say, you know, Linda, I really love you, but yeah, you do that. And I've always wondered why. Can we be honest with ourselves? Can we be introspective enough to admit what God already knows, and that's that we're not perfect? And that we all have stuff that we need to change in our lives? And can we as a congregation be the congregation where it's okay for people to admit that stuff? And we can come along beside them and say, hey, you know what, I'm here. I'll help you into the pool. I'm here for you. You can call me. You can talk to me. You need a ride somewhere? I can handle that. Oddly, it's not the fact that the guy was an invalid that was the issue. It's not the external stuff that everybody can see. It's the internal stuff that we all struggle with. Now, this is a low blow, and I realize it, so I'm asking for forgiveness in advance. But anybody here ever overeat? Anybody here tell a white lie to prevent somebody from being hurt and have it come back to bite you? Anybody here put off till tomorrow what you should have done today and then find out that tomorrow is too late? I had that happen this week. And I can't undo it. Sometimes it's just too late. The man who was my mentor for 6 years passed away this week. And he'd been on my mind for the last month to call Dave and say hi. Can't do it now. Was that okay with Dave? Yeah. Is it okay with me? No. We all have that stuff. You know, so I'm standing here preaching this to you today, and I'm finding myself in a position where I have to forgive myself for what I didn't do. Dave forgave me long ago. Jesus forgave me long ago. I'm the one struggling. God grant me the wisdom to change the things I can, or they grant me the wisdom to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I have to accept it because I can't change it. But there's plenty of stuff in my life that I've accepted that I can't change, so I don't have to deal with it. That's not okay. I'm cutting myself off from getting into the pool. I don't want that for any of you. I don't want it for you as individuals, and I don't want it for you as a church. And I've heard over and over and over again is, when is transition going to end? And every Sunday I stand here, and in some way I say to you, this church belongs to you, and you are responsible for it. And every week, I try to find what hasn't been done to pick up the slack, to keep you guys going until you get there. Transition ends when you own the church and the work gets done. That's why I know we need bodies. I know everybody, I'm not being judgmental here. I know that everybody out there is doing everything that they can. I get it, but I want you to understand what transition means. It means change. It means it's as long as it takes. Yeah, as long as it takes. Think about that. I came here for 18 months. Next Sunday will be the 5th anniversary of the first time I preached here. Because I made that commitment. I made it to God and I made it to you. I'm here for you. I'm not here to do it for you. You need to invite people. You need to find the things that you can do. You've come a long way, baby. A real long way. And I'm proud of you for all of the hard work you've done. But please don't, at this point, make the choice to sit by the pool for 38 years. God has way much better stuff in store for you than that. Amen. Sorry, long-winded today. Let's stand and sing our final hymn, 546, Amazing Grace. And before Mark starts, if you don't have email, there's a little slip out in the narthex that has all of the questions on it that I need answered before the transition meeting. So if you could pick one up and answer on the back and bring it back next week, that would be great. I don't need names, I just need answers. Thank you. There is nothing more amazing than the grace that Jesus showed to that man, or the grace that he'll show to us. And every word of that song is true for every one of us, every minute of every day. Let's join in our corporate benediction, please. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen.